12 years ago, on my birthday, my dad died. And it was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And in fact, a really nice birthday present. Why? Because when he died, he was holding my hand. And I got to share that moment of intimacy, of closeness, in certainly the most important moment of his life and one of the most important moments of my life to date. But it wasn't always like that. You see, my dad came from a generation that said you shouldn't show affection to your male children. You shouldn't hug them. You shouldn't really tell them that you love them and that you wanted them to grow up strong and manly. And so I can't remember my dad giving me a hug from maybe about the age of 5 until when I was 26, he got diagnosed with cancer. And it was at that time I went, you know what? This is crazy. Every time I go and see my parents, I give my mum a hug, a kiss on the cheek, and I just say hi to Dad. We never touched. Not at Christmas, not on a weekend, not on birthdays. We just didn't. And I thought, if Dad's been diagnosed with cancer, I'm going to change that. And so the next time I saw him, I held up my hand and I shook his hand. And when I left that afternoon, I held out my hand and I shook his hand. Now, you wouldn't think that was a big thing, would you? How wrong I was. It was huge. It was so big that 2 of my other brothers got together with me a couple of months later and said, Marty, what's all this handshaking business you've started with Dad? This is just weird. Because, of course, Dad wanted the physical intimacy more than anything else. But he'd been brought up that that's not what you did, and he was too scared to initiate it. Now, in the next 15 years of my dad's life, while he battled with cancer, we moved from handshakes to full-on hugs and kisses. And with that physical intimacy, the emotional intimacy also developed. We were able to broach subjects and talk to each other about things we had never done before. In fact, we had our first overnight together. Again, we'd never done that. And I don't blame Dad for any of this. He was a very busy man. He was a doctor who ran a children's intensive care unit. And he was of that generation that had certain beliefs. But I think the thing for me was having made that first step, as uncomfortable as it was, and not knowing how it'd turn out. Dad could have gone, no, I'm not doing it. But he didn't. And having made that first step, our relationship absolutely blossomed. And that's why when he died, it was one of the most wonderful moments of my life. And when I reflect on death, when I reflect on intimacy and most importantly, that physical touch, I think, wow, you've got to make that first step. Even if it's uncomfortable, and yes, at the full risk that it might not work out. At the full risk, you might get rejected. But make the first step. Connect with people that you think might just be crying out for that connection. Because I think it will change their life, but more importantly, my experience says it made me the richer person. And for that, I will always be grateful to my dad.